Good afternoon. How are you? Well, it's beginning to feel really wet here, and the scene around me kind of looks like the gorilla in the mist. And I'm on one of the broader roads before my dirt road, and so I don't know if I'll beat the rain for the walk and talk or for the longer walk I do before and after I speak with you. Today's a great day, and the question is, how do I measure that? And mostly for purposes of these talks, what I find we're all interested in is what has Trump done lately, or what has done to Trump lately. Excuse me. And the New York judge who has the case brought by the Attorney General, basically claiming a whole host of fraudulent acts by Trump and his children and his entities through which he works. And basically the charge was that he inflated the value of assets to obtain both favorable loans and insurance deals. And so that saved him money. And to the tune of his overstatement was like $2.2 billion. That's pretty serious. That's like real money. Even Congress thinks in those terms. So A.G. James had presented this evidence, and it's before the judge, and they call them summary judgment motions. And it goes like this, and forgive me for those of you who have had to experience these in litigation. But what it basically is one party says, these facts are not in dispute, and if these facts are not in dispute, then we want a judgment as to these facts based on the law that applies to these facts. And the judge did that, and the judge decided that Trump had ridiculously overstated and inflated the sums we're talking about. Now, the judge was not impressed with Trump's lawyers either, and found their arguments frivolous, and is fining each lawyer $7,500 as a sanction for having presented frivolous arguments. Now, that's a hard decision to make, but it's almost that a counsel has no facts and no argument and no law. And I haven't seen the full decision. I've seen excerpts of it, so I can't say what the basis was. And it is tempting to say, we've seen what Trump's lawyers do in other cases, so why wouldn't he hire those people in this case? And I don't know that. And one thing that has to be commented on is the AG's resolve. A.G. James, who brought this case, and keep this in mind, 2019. This is 2023. She has devoted herself to this case and the various incantations that have been presented to courts about getting Trump's tax returns. And she's been doing that over that period of time, from 19 to 23, 2019 to 2023. And keep in mind that, and it may have been a complicated decision, but she was tempted to run for governor of the state, and she could have done it, but she didn't, and she stood aside, and there could have been lots of political reasons for it, and among them would be who would prosecute this case. And I think she did the right thing, because we have lots of governors, but this case is historic, what she's done here. And what she's done is she's now going to continue a trial that's going to seek $250 million in sanctions against Trump and company. They're going to close down a whole bunch of their LLCs. They're not going to be able to buy any land in the state for 5 years. So you get an idea that this is a real punch in the gut, the financial gut, however big Trump may think his is. In reality, financially, not so big, especially a guy who trades on debt and sort of spends the bank's money and asks for so much and they give it to him that he's kind of owned the banks in the past. So I think that's a humdinger of a case in court, And it is equivalent in damage to a criminal case in certain ways without custody, that is, without jailing Trump. Now, is there a criminal case here? Well, I haven't studied the statute of limitations, which is often something like 5 years, although fraud, the statute of limitations can be suspended if it's concealed, and then there's discovery of that. And, all fraud has that, so I can't say. But if the intent is demonstrated, then it could also be a criminal case. But I think that ship has sailed. I don't see, well, it's possible. I don't see the AG now converting to a criminal case. And I assume that there'll be receivers to take over the businesses to fill out the court's order. So in the days ahead, we'll see some testimony perhaps. Trump is on the witness list. You and I are going to levitate before that's going to happen, don't you think? So another good news story is that our president, Biden, joined the picket line in Michigan with the United Auto Workers, and he didn't soft step it. He went in there and he said, I think you should be paid more. You're not being paid enough. You've earned it. This is wrong. And I hope that you get it, and I support you getting it. It was a full-throated support of labor and its efforts, which speaks as well against the companies being greedy pigs at the trough. And I say that with some reservation because I have pigs. And mine are respectable and are not overeager. And we only call them swine respectfully. So, but in the case of Trump, rogue pigs, that's him. So an element of amusement here is the statement that Trump intends to talk to the auto workers himself tomorrow, Wednesday. And that's going to be something, because what can he say to workers? He can't say anything. I guess he can lie about things. We'll be correcting him for days. But if you're familiar with organizing among serious labor leaders and labor members, these guys can't be fooled. I mean, this is meat and potatoes stuff. What do I have to take home on an hourly basis? What pensions are provided for? What health care is provided for? They know it like all citizens should know these matters. And when they look at what they can't buy in the marketplace, and they see how the owners of these automobile manufacturing establishments are profiting excessively, oink, oink, then Trump's got nothing to say to them that matters. So that's one thing that I think is pretty interesting. I have from time to time mentioned COVID, and I think the thing that concerns me, maybe not the most, but if you get COVID and you survive it, and it seems relatively minor, it can be worse, you may have long COVID. And I often refer to Senator Tim Kaine, who had long COVID, that made his executive function in his brain function poorly. And so he was having trouble organizing his thoughts and speaking and so forth. And there are other aspects of COVID that hangs on with people. And there's now a figure out that they think 18 million Americans have been suffering from long COVID. So that's really something. Lastly, and I want to visit this again because I think we should watch it. Menendez, day by day, seems to attract Democrats from his own party, people who are his friends and loyalists, to ask him to resign. Now, the charges are very serious. I get all that. And he's given up his chairmanship, as is required by the rules of the Senate, by the way. And but he's not prepared to give up his seat. And he said that at a press conference he had today. And Booker, who had supported him in the past very aggressively, I mean that in a good way, he today said that Menendez should resign. It is, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that decision, but it flies in the face of what everybody pretends to be the case, which is you're innocent until proven guilty. Now, if he doesn't do whatever duties remain and so forth, I think that's something else. If you find that it compromises what he's doing on the Hill, I think that's important. And I think it is possible that some would resign in these circumstances, but it's a bargaining chip for Menendez in how to settle the case if his defense is weak. And so if I were his counsel, I would tell him not to resign as a lawyer. Now, as a politician and the governor of the state, it might be more difficult. I wouldn't stand by him, but I'm not sure I'd ask him to resign. And I'm especially concerned about this because some are making the charges against him equivalent to those charges against Trump, in which he tried to overthrow the government. And we saw it on TV, and there have been admissions, and now he's been indicted and he was impeached. I had two different cases. And that's not to say that in politics, things that make no sense won't become talking points among the talking heads every night of the week. But there it is. So that's my observations. Our talk has kept the rain to just a kind of a slight mist that you can't even see, kind of an Irish rain. And the temperature, however, is getting more like the cool nights I've enjoyed in Ireland. If you ever go to Ireland, go to Dingle Bay on the west and ask for a Flannery. I won't be there, but there are hundreds of Irish there who are named Flannery. And when I went to that town with my wife Holly, I had a problem getting gas because my credit card company said, there's some guy in Ireland who just bought a sweater in Dingle Bay. I said, yeah, I'm that guy, I'm in Ireland. So they cleared that up, and then the woman in the gas station turned to me and says, you be Mr. Flannery. I said, yes, I am. She couldn't help but overhear me. She said, we have lots of Flannerys here. They run this great boat, and some of them are in research. So I came out, and we got in the car, and we went down to the dock. And there's a woman standing there, and there's a man right next to her. And I'm 50 yards away. And she says, who are you? I said, I'm John Flannery. She says, no, you're not. And she points to the man and says, he's John Flannery. And I said, well, there's more than one John Flannery. And they explained to me how the Flannerys from County Mayo, two of them, went out on a boat, and they were caught in a storm. Not like this evening. They're caught in a storm, and they seemed to be lost at sea. But when they came to land, it was in Dingle Bay, and they've stayed ever since because the good Lord must have meant them to be in Dingle Bay. And so with that, I say good evening from my cathedral of trees, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.